What is up, fam? Thank you so much for tuning in to So Real Sports Talk. I am So Real Sunil. To the side of me, we have the Press Democrats' very own Jack Hammer. Jack is definitely back at his house. You could see it's all 49ered out.
Hi, how you doing, Sunil?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Week 2 is in the books, at least for the 49ers. Came out with another victory. So 2-0. That's the positive stuff. Absolutely. Tell me, after the game was done, and maybe now that you've slept on it a little bit, what's been your overall reaction to the game?
My overall reaction to the game is still kind of where I was when as soon as the game ended. I felt like it was a really good overall team victory. I think that you know the game kind of played out how I thought it was going to play out from a defensive standpoint. I thought the offense was going to be a little bit better, but all in all, when you take everything into consideration, kind of the way that game played out, for them to be able to win that game took all three phases to be able to pull it off, and I think that's the best way to really describe it. It was just a really good team win.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the biggest takeaway for me was we saw improvements. I think we saw a lot of improvements from what D'Amico Ryans did from week 1 to week 2, and then I think we saw some pretty poignant adjustments that Kyle Shanahan made from the middle of the second quarter and all second half, as far as getting the ball out of Jimmy's hand fast, because that defensive line was kind of eating us up, right? So I think that was my biggest takeaways, is just seeing the coaching actually make some adjustments, which is always good to see.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if we go through and you look at the game, the way that it played out, it really you started to see the Ferners offense move the ball at the beginning of the second quarter, right? They had a nice little drive going. It wasn't anything, they didn't have the ability to really get down the field. There was just too much stuff going around in the pocket to really be able to go downfield very much.
Right.
And so you saw them just making little plays, but they had that one nice drive. Those first 3 and outs were bad. But then the fourth possession of the game is where you started to see Kyle Shanahan changing up the game a little bit. They started to Garoppolo stopped throwing bad, missing screen passes, because that was,
right.
He had 2 screen passes that he just, totally whiffed on at the beginning of that game, the one to Samuel and the one to Juszczyk. But you started seeing him connecting on those, and the offense had a really good possession there. They didn't get to finish it off because they had that illegal crackback block on Sanu that really killed them.
Right.
That was shooting themselves in the foot. But from that point on, the offense really played. I felt decent. They definitely took over. From the second quarter on, the 49ers outgained Philadelphia by about 80 yards, and about 91 of that was on one throw from Jalen Hurts that didn't result in anything in the end, thanks to the defense.
And I think that, like you said, it was a team victory. I think it was that complementary football, that term that you hear all the time on ESPN and all these talk shows, complementary football, where the defense and the offense really coupled together. I think when the offense made those changes, like you talked about, that time of possession, I think was really important, because they got a fresh defense on the field, for each drive, and it really showed up as far as how well the defense played. So we're definitely going to be talking about, all of that. Harold Murillo, hello guys. Hello to you, Harold. It was my impression that once Graham from the Eagles got hurt, then the offense was able to convert and move forward. Definitely Graham is a big loss for the Eagles, but I would like to put it more on the adjustments that Shanahan made, as far as how quick the ball was coming out of Jimmy's hands, and them stop pushing the ball down the middle and start doing a lot of those pitches and things on the outside, which was some of their strengths. I think that was more of it. Obviously, Graham plays a role as well. What about you, Jack?
Yeah, well, the Graham thing definitely was a part of it, but they kept running those toss sweeps, and they were start dinking and dunking more. I think the other thing too that I don't think gets looked at enough was the first 2 times they had the ball, The first play of the game is a 4-yard loss, so they're starting out in a bad situation there to begin with, right? So their first play of the game, they lose 4 yards. Now it's 2nd and 14. Garoppolo, buries a ball to Juszczyk, and there was just a lot of little things that happened. I don't know if it was so much of Shanahan changing things up as things just kind of settling down. It was the Eagles home opener. You were all over the Eagles piece, right? You kept telling me that this was going to be a tight game. The Eagles were better than we thought, and the Eagles defense was, I think, a little bit better than I gave them credit for. And they were. You could tell in the first quarter, Garoppolo was just off, and it took until the second quarter. They kind of settled down a little bit. Easy, they had a nice little run to start off that one drive and throwing the ball around, and he started hitting those little dinks and dunks, and before you know it, things were on the move. It was an odd game. It was Jimmy Garoppolo, everything that everybody loves about Jimmy Garoppolo, the people that like him, and everything that people hate about Jimmy Garoppolo in that game. And that's kind of the Jimmy Garoppolo experience.
Absolutely. If you were on Twitter, you saw all the Jimmy Garoppolo quote unquote haters be like, bench Jimmy, put in Trey. This is exactly, all this kind of stuff. And then later on the game, all the Jimmy Garoppolo stands started being, more vocal and being like, see, this is why we keep Jimmy in, 2 90-yard drives, all that kind of stuff. So I think it was definitely an entertaining game. A solid victory, like you said. I think all three phases definitely had things they could look at and be proud of and build on, moving forward to the next game. But unfortunately, the game did come at some cost. There were some injuries that happened, some big time injuries, obviously, namely in the running back department. So, Jack, can you give us an update on, what's going on with the injuries in the 49ers and maybe give us a little bit of insight of what you think the 49ers are going to do, especially with that running back room?
Yeah, well, the running back room got hammered yesterday. All three of their main guys got hurt. The only one that didn't was Trenton Cannon, and that's only because he played one snap on offense, and other than that, he was on special teams. You have, I think, Elijah Mitchell. He's got the shoulder. He's day-to-day. He's probably going to play next week against Green Bay. JaMycal Hasty's going to be out for a while. He has a high ankle sprain, so he might even be somebody that they put on IR because they expect him to be out for at least 3 weeks. So you might see him get put over, on the shelf for a little bit, just so they can clear up the space to bring somebody else up. And then also, the Trey Sermon deal, that was a bad one with his first NFL carry, and he just gets clubbed across the side of the head and then hit again by another helmet. That was a really rough one.
Yeah. So he's probably in the concussion protocol, right?
And he is, and so he's in the concussion protocol. So who knows if he's going to be around? So right now, the only healthy running back that they have is I'm going to say well, yeah, Cannon. Mitchell's going to be fine. He's going to play on Sunday. Sunday night. I would bet you if I were betting on this one, I'd say that Mitchell's going to be a go. But still, having only those two guys is scary. And they'll probably bringing up Kerryon Johnson off their practice squad. They had 3 guys in today for workouts: Lamar Miller, Duke Johnson, and T.J. Yeldon. And of that 3, the only guy that really I think deserves a shot would be Duke Johnson. Although Lamar Miller kind of fits the 49ers mold, considering he's coming off of an ACL injury last year, so he kind of fits what they look for there.
Which one of you guys is coming off a season-ending injury? You're our guy.
That's right. Well, yeah, Miller doesn't have a carry since 2018, I believe it is, because at the beginning of 2019 is when he tore up his knee, so he missed that whole season. Missed all of last year. He signed up with the Bears in around October, I think. He played in one game and had 2 receptions for like 4 yards or 5 yards or something like that. So the one that makes the most sense here would be Duke Johnson for them.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Duke Johnson, is a capable receiver out of the backfield. And they seem to, obviously Hasty seemed to be that back that they were using a lot in the screen game, not so much Mitchell. So Duke Johnson has done that his whole career. And I think the one thing about Lamar Miller is he's a little bit of a bigger body. And that's one thing that the 49ers are missing if Sermon doesn't play and Hasty doesn't play, is that bigger body. So maybe that's why they look at that. I don't know about Duke's measurables, but I've always envisioned him as more of like a shorter, kind of like stocky type of guy. So So we'll see.
Yep.
Definitely, you know, Mitchell being able to play would be a huge thing. Other than that, you know, we've seen plug and play running backs and people do well. So hopefully everything will be all right.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be a tough. That what makes it. Shoot, remember back about 4 weeks ago, 49ers had 5 really good running backs in the
Right.
room, and now they have none that aren't already injured. So it's been a rough start to the season for him. And then also Kevin Givens was lost to a high ankle sprain as well, so he's kind of the
Yeah.
same thing as JaMychal Hasty. Javon Kinlaw day to day with a knee. Same with Eric Armstead. He still has that adductor deal that he had before. So pretty much other than those two, pretty much all the same stuff. They're hoping that Emmanuel Mosley's going to be back for Sunday night. That's their hope. And then that brings me to Josh Norman. He was also he had a little deal with his ankle, so he's day to day as well.